Ron A. Seal, Sovereign Grand Commander. A few generations back, a kid from southern Mississippi came to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to begin his college education at Louisiana State University. He sought out a place to stay and found a boarding house where he secured a room and board for the next few years. The owner and operator of the boarding house was a lady, and she had a daughter about the same age as the student. The student graduated from LSU, then went on to law school and eventually married the daughter of the boarding house proprietor. The new lawyer set up his new law practice in Baton Rouge, and before long, a son was born. They named the son Ronald Armbrust Seal. The year was 1948. When I first heard that the Grand Commander was coming to our city for the Scottish Rite Spring Reunion this year, I knew that that this would be an important event in the history of the Macalester Scottish Rite. We had available a background resume on Commander Seal proclaiming his Masonic career and connections in great detail. I wanted to know more about his personal life, his younger years, the environment that shaped him into the person that became one of the youngest Grand Commanders in Scottish Rite history. I went to our General Secretary's office and posed the question to John Alford. He said, to my complete surprise, well, if you want to find out about him, let's just call him. You can talk to him direct. That wasn't what I was expecting to hear. Fortunately so he dialed the Supreme Council, and fortunately the Grand Commander was not available, but his secretary took down the reason for the call and my home phone number. I went home and began to work on a list of questions to use in the interview if and when he called. I waited about a week and nothing happened, and so I assumed he had more important things to do than talk to a would-be Barbara Walters who wanted to intrude on his personal life. Fortunately, I did not throw away my questions, as one morning I received a call. The caller said, "Good morning, Tom. My name is Ron Seal. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I understood you want to talk to me." I had expected a call saying, "I'm Mr. Seal's secretary. He will be with you in a few minutes," or some other chief executive type of rhetoric, but no, that was not the case. Regardless of how the interview would go from that point, I knew immediately I was going to like this guy. After a few opening remarks where he told me the story which I related to you at the beginning here today about his parents and how they came to Baton Rouge and how they got started in life, and so I received very little information as we talked regarding his elementary school years, except that he was always a little taller than most of the other students, and they called him Ronnie. As we moved up the educational ladder, because of my growing up days and what I did as a youngster, and because he was a big kid, I asked him what sports he participated in. And the answer, to my surprise, was none, at least on an organized sports team basis. His extracurricular activities, however, revolved around speech and drama. He also was very active in Boy Scout Troop Number 6, sponsored by the Methodist Church. And he grew up in that same First United Methodist Church in Baton Rouge, going to both church camps and Boy Scout camps during the summertime. During his high school, he got a summer job with the funeral home, and for several summers he worked there at the funeral home. He also worked during his college days in the summertime at the state capitol there in Baton Rouge. in the insurance commissioner's office. Also during his high school years, he joined the Order of Demolay, which launched his Masonic career, but I will get back to that in a few minutes. His favorite academic subject was history. He evidently was an excellent student during his middle school and high school days. However, I asked him a couple of pointed questions about any academic honors he received. I was searching for an answer like valedictorian or salutatorian or honor student or something like that. I never received a direct answer, so either he did not qualify for any such honors or he was too modest to blow his own horn. He did talk extensively about two other subjects which he became interested in and participated in during those days: aviation and ham radio. A neighbor who lived across the street from the Seal family home was a ham radio operator, and young Ronnie became entranced with the ability to speak with people all over the world. He told me about in the ham radio activities, so there's 5 levels of skill involved with these ham radio operators, and that I couldn't write them down fast enough for him because he named them all off, but then he went back to say, and the first one I remember was a novice, so that's obvious. He said that he qualified for the 2nd level, so that gives you an idea that he's not an expert, but he does enjoy the ham radio activities. And ham radio is one of his carryover hobbies that he still enjoys today. I understand that probably the real underlying reason that he's coming to McAlester is that he got word that Wade Massey and some of our ham radio buddies and his buddies decided to set up a ham radio station here in our temple during our spring reunion, and he wanted to get in on the fun. The other major time consumer during his high school and college years was the excitement generated in the area of aviation. He learned to fly there in Baton Rouge and received his pilot's license while in high school. His flying time dropped off as he entered adult and married life, and he doesn't fly at all now, he said, in the Washington, D.C. area. He enrolled in college there in his hometown in Baton Rouge, since it is the home of Louisiana State University. 4 years later, he graduated with a degree in political science. During his college days, he took 4 years of Army ROTC and received his commission as a 2nd lieutenant in the Army Reserve upon graduation. I should have asked him, why not Air Force ROTC? But just another flaw in my novice interviewing techniques. I don't think he was even called to active duty, but he says that one of his big regrets is that he did not stay active in the reserves, and so that he could participate in the retirement programs of the reserve. After receiving his degree from LSU, he departed Baton Rouge for law school in Cumberland University, located in Birmingham, Alabama. While in law school, his roommate introduced him to a girl from Mobile, Alabama. After a courtship period, she became Mrs. Ron Seal. Her name was Sandra. She goes by the name Sonny. 3 years later, he received his law degree, and the newly married couple moved back to Baton Rouge to begin their new adult life. He was a lawyer, and she was a school teacher. Another flaw in my interviewing: I presumed that he entered law practice as a member of his father's firm when he got back to Baton Rouge. However, I did not ask that specific question, and so I honestly can't say. He may have gone into practice on his own, I don't know. But anyway, he was a practicing legal attorney there in the Baton Rouge. He became a very active attorney in his home city, practicing both general and civil law. He was a Sunday school teacher in his original church home, that being the First United Methodist Church, and he continued in what he called this enjoyable activity for 30 years. He taught both youth and adult Sunday school classes. His wife, Sonny, was a physical education teacher. Now, everyone knows that rope jumping is a normal activity in PE training. However, she took it to another level. Ron Seal proudly described how she took kids and entered them in a rope jumping competitive league. They became so good that they were invited to PE conferences all over the United States, and then even conferences to South America and a couple of countries in Europe. They went there for competition and exhibition. Now, this is a rope jumping contest, but it certainly is a strenuous activity. Sonny, the school teacher, wife, is now retired, that they are residents of Washington, D.C. She retired after 30 years teaching. Their marriage produced 2 children, a daughter, Stephanie, and a son, Michael. In every picture of Ron Seal that I have ever seen, he is wearing a bow tie. I asked him if there was a story behind this piece of his apparel. He said, nothing special. When he first began having to wear ties, he wore a bow tie, liked it, and has never changed. He said he didn't know whether he could even tie a regular tie or not if he tried. When you take a successful attorney, a great ability to speak publicly, and a person who can relate to people of all ranks and files, you have a person who is ripe for political life. This would be an apt description of Ron Seal after 25 years of adult life. I asked him if he ever had any political aspirations. The answer was a quick no. No further comment. The issue was promptly dropped with a silent thud. Now let's take a look at his Masonic career, which started in 1962 with his entry into the DeMolay at age 14. He quickly became master counselor. In later years, he returned to his DeMolay activities as the chapter advisor or chapter dad. His adult DeMolay honors included all of the, because he stayed active in the DeMolay through all these years. And the honors that he is reaped now are the DeMolay Court of Honor, Chevalier, and Active Legion of Honor. He became a member of the DeMolay Supreme Council also. Now back to his career, a regular Masonic career. He was raised a Master Mason in 1969 when he was a senior at LSU. He served as Worshipful Master of his Blue Lodge 19 years later. He also served on numerous Grand Lodge committees through the years. He became a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason, and because of his training in speech and drama, was quickly pressed into duty in the three degrees, the 5th, the 27th, and the 31st degrees. His Scottish Rite work resulted in the receipt of the first honorary degree, the KCCH, in 1977. Then he was coronated a 33rd degree Mason 16 years later. Not a quick turnaround. 16 years later. I mention that because it'll come out here in a minute. The receipt of his white cap, now this got his 33rd, started an amazing rise up in the ranks of Scottish Rite hierarchy. Like I said, he received that in 1993. On January the 1st, 1995, he was appointed Deputy of the Supreme Council, and then 10 months later was confirmed as the SGIG of Louisiana. So that took place just a few years after he got his 33rd. And then, after 4 years as a member of the Supreme Council, he was named Deputy Grand Commander in 1999. Now this made him the heir apparent to Grand Commander Fred Kleinknecht. And then in October 2003, upon the resignation of Kleinknecht, his amazing 10-year journey ended with his election as Sovereign Grand Commander of the Southern Jurisdiction in the United States. From a new 33rd degree in 1933 to Sovereign Grand Commander in 2003, folks, this is like a fairy tale of a story. In October of this year, of 2013, he will have held this title for 10 years. Back to the person Seal the person. He is certainly a man of the South. As I mentioned in my opening, his father came from southern Mississippi, his mother from Baton Rouge. He was born, of course, as mentioned, in Baton Rouge, and has lived all of his life there, excepting the 3 years in law school and now the 10 years that he's been in Washington, D.C. He neither speaks with a southern accent or a Cajun twang, as many folks from Louisiana would do. Now, his wife was from Mobile, so I have to label him truly a person of southern, qualifies him as a southern gentleman. In summary, let me say that my 45-minute conversation with this person was most refreshing and enjoyable. From the outset, he made me feel completely at ease. Before long, I felt I was sitting across the table drinking coffee with an old friend. In between answering my questions, he was asking me about Macalester Scottish Rite. This is why the interview took so long. The only concern I have with Ron Seal came when I asked him, "Now don't tell me you're one of those crazy LSU Tiger football fans." His answer, "You got it right, buddy. Go Tigers." This is just a few facts and a lot of personal observations taken in what I considered a very quick 45-minute phone bill.